It is Tuesday, December 12th, and this is The National.
Tonight, a minister under fire again. The wife of a veteran says Hehr made an inappropriate comment and wants him removed.
Medically assisted death may be legal, but it brings difficult decisions for patients and their doctors. We'll take you inside one woman's journey to end her life.
But we begin in Alabama. This is the headquarters of Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore. It is election night. Results have been rolling in for about 2 hours now, and for both sides of the political divide, it has been a wild ride. Right now, it is still too close to call. Consider this, though. At any normal time in any normal race, an off-year U.S. congressional election would not be headline news. Alabama hasn't voted for a Democrat in 25 years. It is deep South, deep Republican red. But tonight, the race, so incredibly close, so incredibly closely watched, thanks to Republican candidate Roy Moore, champion of family values, but accused of sexual misconduct with teen girls. What happens in the coming minutes could change the political landscape of Trump's America. So let's go to Keith Bogue, who's standing by right now at Roy Moore's campaign headquarters to talk about more on what's happening in Alabama tonight. So Keith, boy, this has been an unpredictable night. Walk us through what's happening.
Well, there are two ways to look at this, essentially. The votes that have been counted, the 75% or more of the precincts have already reported, and Roy Moore is leading by about 2.8 percentage points. But if you look at the projection models that try to take into account what is the vote that's still out there, whose vote still has to be reported, and we know that a lot of that is votes from urban areas, the big cities such as Birmingham and so on, and that would seem to favor Doug Jones. So the projection models are actually projecting that Doug Jones will win this if things continue the way that they are. But at this particular moment, he is behind in the vote count. And the early analysis of what is happening tonight is that the Doug Jones vote is turning out in a better way than they had projected. The Roy Moore vote is not. He's not meeting the benchmarks that he needed to win this. But it is not over yet, and I'm not saying that's what the result will be. I'm just telling you that there are two very clear ways of looking at the results right now that give you different impressions of where we are in the race. But
yeah, no,
the next hour is going to be critical.
Fair enough, absolutely. And, you know, despite the saxophone player behind you, despite his best efforts, I'm guessing the crowd is going to hold off on giving their enthusiasm. We're getting a little too excited about the race until we do get more clarity on the result tonight. But give us some perspective here, because the world is watching this race, right? Not just Americans. Why is that?
Sure, Andrew. I mean, people, I think, around the world who paid attention to what was happening here and heard about the allegations that were made against Roy Moore are naturally wondering how it is that he can still manage to be leading in the vote count here. They want to know what it says about Alabama. They want to know whether it's possible for someone who has been accused of these things by credible people, is it possible that he could still win a seat in the United States Senate? There is also a very strong sense here that this whole campaign, even before the allegations against Roy Moore, this whole campaign was a referendum on Donald Trump, that it was the first statewide election campaign for a federal seat, and as such that it was a good marker for measuring the temperature of the country and how the country feels about the new president. And so this is an opportunity for people to register their vote. And finally, there are real consequences. The Senate in Washington is divided 52 Republicans, 48 Democrats. Picking up a seat, Democrats picking up a seat from Republicans could make a difference. It could even be the first step towards them retaking control of the Senate in the 2018 midterm elections.
A lot at stake. Keith Bogue joining us from Roy Moore headquarters in Alabama. Thanks very much, Keith. Now, Keith did just mention Donald Trump. Just a year ago, Alabama voted for Donald Trump overwhelmingly. This race, by all accounts, should have been a breeze for any Republican. But Roy Moore is not just any Republican. Even before the accusations of sexual misconduct, he was deeply polarizing.
I believe in the Second Amendment.
Roy Moore paints himself a latter-day John Wayne, riding to the polling station on horseback. His political brand is firebrand.
Abortion, sodomy, sexual perversion sweep our land.
And he's certainly consistent.
Sexual perversion Oh, there's one.
In the 1990s, as an Alabama judge, he said teaching evolution in school inspired drive-by shootings.
They're acting like animals because we've taught them they come from animals.
He suggested 9/11 was God's punishment for America's perversion. And it's safe to say Moore is no friend of LGBT rights.
Homosexual conduct should be illegal.
He was twice removed as Alabama's Chief Justice, once for refusing to recognize the legalization of gay marriage, but also for refusing to remove a 2.5-ton monument to the 10 Commandments from the lobby of his court. But the most recent scandal are the allegations from multiple women. One, only 14, when she says he touched her in a sexual way. Another, 16, when she says he violently sexually assaulted her. So we are keeping a close eye on the polls. I can tell you right now, they are running neck and neck, less than a point separating the two candidates. So we're going to keep a close eye on the numbers. We'll update you on the results later in the hour.
Donald Trump's favorite weapon has him in some hot water again. This time, though, it's after a female politician called for the president's resignation. A lashing from Trump on Twitter was hardly surprising, but what he posted this morning is now raising fresh allegations of sexism and worse. Paul Hunter now with the fallout.
For a president already branded by some a bullying misogynist, the pushback by Democrats on one of his tweets this morning was particularly fierce. Trump had targeted Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who yesterday called on Trump to resign. Today, he called her a lightweight flunky who once begged him for campaign contributions and would, quote, do anything for them. Democrat Elizabeth Warren tweeted at Trump, "Are you trying to slut-shame Gillibrand?" Others called Trump's tweet grotesque.
It took my breath away, and it represents the conduct of a person who is ill-equipped to be the president of the United States.
That tweet was nasty, unbecoming of a president.
It was a sexist smear attempting to silence my voice.
Gillibrand's call yesterday for Trump to resign came after these three women re-accused Trump of sexual misconduct.
When his hand started going up my skirt.
Allegations first made public before last year's election. Now reasserted, it had dozens of Democratic lawmakers today pressing Congress to investigate Trump's behavior.
No man or woman is above the law.
And as for Trump's tweet today, Gillibrand emphasized she will not be silenced.
Neither will the women who stood up to the president yesterday.
I will take your questions.
To the White House, was Trump's tweet sexual innuendo?
I think only if your mind is in the gutter would you have read it that way. And so no.
He's used the do anything phrase before, said the White House, including toward men, for what he calls a broken system on Capitol Hill. And so it is that lightweight, flunky, and slut-shaming joined the vernacular in and around the White House.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, what did you mean when you said that?
The president himself chose not to explain his tweet. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Okay, to politics on this side of the border now. More controversy surrounding the Minister of Sport and Persons with Disabilities, Kent Hehr. For the third time in just a week now, he is facing accusations of being insensitive and insulting to someone in a difficult situation.
He doesn't care. He didn't care that day. I was there with my husband and with another veteran spouse, and both of us sort of looked at each other going, huh?
This wife of a veteran with PTSD says Hehr just brushed her off during a meeting in Halifax while he was Veterans Affairs Minister last week. You might remember Hehr was under fire over comments he made to thalidomide survivors, saying, quote, everyone has a sob story. He later apologized for those comments. And as our David Cochran tells us, the embattled minister is having to defend himself today yet again.
Hey, Fred. What?
Blair Davis finds happiness with his animals.
Gimme, you silly boy.
But beneath the smile is a former soldier driven to the edge of suicide by PTSD.
Yeah, my boy.
His wife, Kim, quit her job as a college instructor to support him at the peak of his despair.
She's my pillar, my stone. She's the one that I go to when I'm having a bad day, when I'm having a bad night, other than my animals. So, you know, without her, I probably wouldn't be here right now.
But when she went looking for help from Kent Hehr when Hehr was Veterans Affairs Minister, Kim Davis says it went bad.
And he's like, well, you married him. It's your responsibility. I'm like, yeah, I married him, but you injured him.
In no uncertain terms did I say that.
It's a now familiar pattern. Hehr meets with an ordinary Canadian. They complain.
Oral questions.
The opposition pounces.
So instead of being compassionate, this minister launched a taxpayer-funded political attack on a veteran's wife.
Hehr denies it.
I met with Kim Davis some 2 years ago, and there I thanked her and her husband for their tremendous service to our country.
The Prime Minister is left to manage it.
The minister responded to those particular allegations, and he apologized for earlier ones.
Blair and Kim Davis watched the drama in Ottawa unfold on their television. They weren't impressed.
What should they do? They should remove him from being a minister. He has no empathy for anybody that he is put in place to help protect and advocate for. It's not the portfolios, it's the person.
David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Justin Trudeau has chosen a replacement for Chief Justice Beverly McLaughlin.
He has the integrity, the wisdom, and the collegial spirit and cooperation that Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada needs.
Justice Richard Wagner is from Quebec. He began his legal career in 1980. He served as a judge with both Quebec's Superior Court and Court of Appeals and was named to the Supreme Court 5 years ago by Stephen Harper. In naming Wagner Chief Justice, Trudeau upheld the tradition of alternating between a civil code jurist from Quebec and a common law one. Wagner, who is fully bilingual, will be sworn in next Monday. Let's go to Ian now with an update on a story that CBC News has followed closely. Ian.
Well, Rosemary, amid all the sexual harassment allegations making headlines lately, tonight there is vindication for women working in a very male environment of firefighting.
It's too bad that a movie star has to start the conversation and suddenly we pay attention when ordinary women for decades have been speaking out and no one's listening. And that's what it was like with me.
As part of a settlement with former Halifax firefighter Leanne Tessier, the city and its fire department have admitted to historic, systemic gender discrimination. Tessier has been pushing for this for more than a decade. The CBC's Stephanie Van Kampen sat down with her.
Just everything from the very beginning, 12 years of stuff. I mean, this is just not even all of it yet. I mean,
once a place of inspiration, now Leanne Tessier's art studio, like her life, has been overrun by the pursuit of justice, only now achieved.
Every woman who's ever spoken out, who's ever dared to tell the truth, has been destroyed. You know, you're attacked, you're hated.
Tessier began firefighting at 34 with the goal of making it a career. She made captain. Her skills won 3rd place at the World Firefighter Championships. But she says she began to be bullied, ostracized, and regularly had her equipment tampered with by some of her colleagues. When she talked to other women at the station, shocking revelations that she wasn't the only one.
One woman had used condoms put in her bunker gear, and another one had threatening letters put on her locker saying, you know, shut up, bitch, or else. One was thrown down a set of stairs, and one was left alone in a fire.
She reported the abuse to her employer, but the system that was supposed to help only made it worse.
They just sort of took over where the men in question left off and just kept dismissing my complaints.
Even worse, she says she faced retaliation for speaking out. The station stopped calling her for shifts. She was denied a full-time job and eventually left the service.
I had to remind myself throughout the battle that it was about them and not me.
Now, Tessier has reluctantly agreed to a settlement that includes a public apology for historic systemic gender discrimination, compensation, and policy changes to make it easier for women to speak out, some of which have already been made. The city declined to comment for this story. Her lawyer says Tessier's costly fight will inspire more women to speak out.
I think it's huge. I mean, I think anytime you're able to stand up and say, you know, I kind of fought Goliath and I was the victor. that's a huge accomplishment.
But the resolution doesn't feel like a win for Tessier.
You know, it's all very well about the apology. It doesn't change what happened to me in the past. All I can hope for is that, you know, you're just like a spoke on the wheel of change.
Now she'll keep watch to make sure the promise of change isn't an empty one. Stephanie Van Kampen, CBC News, Halifax.
Ahead tonight on The National, a jury is deciding whether two men are guilty of murdering a 23-year-old Toronto woman. But what the jury doesn't know, the pair is already serving time for another killing.
And Jean Yip is the new MP-elect for Scarborough Agincourt. The riding was held by her late husband, Arnold Chan. We sit down to talk about her decision to run and carrying on her husband's legacy.
And a little later, we'll look at the challenges of asking a doctor to help you die. Cass Rusi spent months with one woman who fought to end her life.
I'm not hurting anybody. I just want my peace and my quiet. And I want to stop this in this body that I don't recognize anymore.
On The National tonight, people across Europe are bracing for potential gas shortages after a deadly explosion at one of the continent's key gas hubs. The blast in eastern Austria killed one person, injured 21 others, and caused major problems across the region. Gas prices spiked, and Italy, which relies heavily on that facility, declared a state of emergency. Police are now investigating the cause, but they're pointing to some sort of technical issue. No idea yet when the facility will be back online. The federal government is opening up the competition to buy 88 new fighter jets.
We always look for the economic benefit when we assess bids, but now, as mentioned, we're establishing a new test where we will also be looking for economic harm, which means any company responsible for economic harm to Canada will be at a distinct disadvantage.
Well, that is a thinly veiled warning for U.S.-based Boeing, which launched a trade complaint against Montreal-based Bombardier in the spring. The announcement also made clear that Ottawa's plan to buy 18 new Super Hornets from Boeing is dead. As a stopgap, the government confirmed it is looking to buy 18 used F-18s from Australia. They'll supplement Canada's aging CF-18 fleet until new jets can be delivered, starting in 2025. Well, a Toronto jury is now deliberating in the murder trial of two men accused of killing 23-year-old Laura Babcock. It has been a disturbing trial with graphic detail. But from the very beginning, there's something the jury never heard, and we weren't allowed to remind you about it either. Dylan Millard and Mark Smitch are both already in prison, convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Tim Bosma.
You don't need him, but I do. And our daughter needs her daddy back.
Bosma went missing in May of 2013. He was trying to sell his truck, and he took Millard and Smitch for a test drive. But they killed him and incinerated his body in the very same machine they're now accused of using to burn Babcock's body nearly a year earlier.
Just a little one.
Laura Babcock disappeared in July of 2012, just 2 days after this video was recorded. The Crown argued she was on the wrong end of a love triangle with Millard and another woman. Smitch is accused of helping Millard kill her. The grisly act of violence inspired his rap lyrics, according to prosecutors.
The started off all skin and bone, now the lay on some ashy stone. Last time I saw us outside the home.
Still, Smitch and Millard deny everything. Other key evidence? Texts, letters, cell phone records. This photo on Millard's phone. The Crown says it's Babcock's body. Also, video of something burning in the incinerator, which could be her remains. That's just part of the mountain of evidence the jurors have to sift through. The CBC's Shannon Martin has been in the courtroom for every twist and turn of this complex case. She brings us more on what the jury didn't hear.
I've walked by this statue at the courthouse in downtown Toronto dozens of times. It's called the Pillars of Justice, and it represents the part of the legal system in which the public most participates, the jury. What makes it so special is there's one empty space for you to imagine yourself as the 12th juror. But juries don't often witness everything that happens during a court case. And in this case, against Della Millard and Mark Smitch, there was a lot that was kept from the jury. Courtrooms are pretty basic places. Tables and chairs for the lawyers and defendants, usually benches for the gallery, but generally pretty simple. So jurors in courtroom 2-7 may have been curious about the heavy curtains around the co-accused tables. That was to hide the belts binding their feet. Steel shackles would have been too loud. Every morning, the two men were brought in before the jury arrived, handcuffed too, but those were taken off. And why was this hidden from the jury? To avoid having to mention that Millard and Smitch are already convicted killers in one of the most gruesome cases in southern Ontario, a crime that was never mentioned in front of the jury. Tim Bosma was just 32. He had a wife and baby girl at home. They needed some extra cash, so they posted Bosma's truck for sale on Kijiji. In May 2013, two men, Millard and Smitch, showed up at his home for a test drive. Bosma was killed within minutes, shot dead inside his own truck. His body then burned in an animal incinerator. After a 5-month trial, Millard and Smitch were handed life sentences, no chance of parole for 25 years.
For Tim's murderers, their life sentence begins now, and ours began over 3 years ago when they murdered Tim.
The ban on all things Bosma even extended to Bosma's parents, who wanted to be there to support Laura Babcock's family, but Justice Michael Code advised them to stay away. The greatest kind of support they can give the Babcock family is to make sure we get through this trial, he said, during a closed-door legal discussion the jury never heard. I strongly suspect the Babcock family feels the same way. The jury at the Babcock trial got to witness something incredibly rare. One of the accused represented himself. Della Millard acted as his own lawyer, and as such, Justice Code cut him a little slack the jury never knew about. Millard complained that being in prison was affecting his ability to act as his own lawyer because he wasn't getting enough time to shower and shave. Justice Code considered his complaint. I'm not sure how long it takes you to shower and shave, but it takes me about 5 minutes, he said. Code made special arrangements to make sure Millard got enough time to groom. While Millard waits to learn whether the jury here finds him guilty of Babcock's murder, he's staring down another court date the jury didn't hear about: first-degree murder in the death of his father. 4 months after Babcock disappeared, her final phone call traced to Millard's home, his father was found dead in his bed at the very same home. He died of a gunshot wound to the eye. His death was initially ruled a suicide. So once again, Millard will face a judge and jury this March, where the pillars of justice will perform their duty, and you might just find yourself the 12th juror. Shannon Martin, CBC News, Toronto.
Lots more ahead tonight on The National. I'll sit down with Jean Yip. She's the newly elected Toronto MP. It's a personal conversation about her late husband and former MP Arnold Chan and her decision to build on his legacy on Parliament Hill.
But first, it's a difficult decision for both patients and physicians. We'll have one woman's story as she fights for a doctor to help her die.
I've had such a full life. I don't want to become the drooling vegetable mass that I sometimes do become already. I'm ready to go. So please let me go. It's just like the knot is getting looser, and just untie the knot and let me drift away. Please let me go.
That is Nancy Vickers. She was 64 years old when we met her, a free spirit who said she'd lived a good life. But then she was diagnosed with Parkinson's and slowly became a prisoner in her own body. She decided she wanted to die on her own terms. And she's one of more than 2,500 Canadians who have chosen a medically assisted death. Not an easy decision, and just as difficult for some is finding a doctor willing to help. Castrucci has Nancy's story.
Let's come and eat.
Amazing, huh?
There's a party going on in apartment 401.
Nancy, the lobsters come.
A celebration of a life well lived. The guest of honor is Nancy Vickers.
I love Nancy. Nancy's been my friend since we were in our early 20s. We've shared many adventures, many memories.
How would I describe Nancy? Classic but wild. Pure product of the 70s.
The gathering is small but intimate. In just a few hours, Nancy will say her goodbyes, and with the help of a physician, will slip into a coma and die.
Oh, I was a beautiful young woman. I traveled a lot. See the design on the horses and their...
Now 64, Nancy has lived an unconventional and colorful life. Who is this now?
That is me, with my Moroccan boyfriend. That was in Marrakesh.
You traveled a lot.
I've lived a good life.
Okay, so
look how fat I am.
That's you.
Yes.
Whose tattoo is that?
That's mine. That's my bum.
You're kidding.
No, that's when it was new. I don't know what it looks like now.
Do you remember telling me that? Over a decade ago, Nancy was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Is it hard for you to look at these photos?
Not at all. Parkinson's takes away your life, chisels it away day by day, bit by bit. I loved cooking. Cooking was my thing. I can't even stand in the kitchen now and slice a cucumber.
Alone in her small apartment with her beloved cats, Nancy's life is mostly confined to her sofa. She has few relatives.
Okay, Nancy.
Thank you, my sweet.
But a cousin, Jane Watanabe, checks in on her every month or so and helps out with the chores.
This is delicious. Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Ending her life on her own terms has always been her wish. So when medically assisted dying became law in Canada in 2016, she thinks she could get what she wants.
I've had such a full life. I mean, I am so lucky that I've been able to travel and have wonderful friends around the world and eat great food and drink great wines. I don't want to become the drooling vegetable mass that I sometimes do become already.
With her condition worsening, Nancy needs a doctor who can help her. The first obvious choice was her family physician, Dr. Paul Kramer.
It was late last winter. She called me and asked me what I thought about it, and I said I agreed, and would I help her?
But after consulting with a malpractice lawyer, he's told that her illness doesn't fit the new law's criteria, that a death has to be reasonably foreseeable. So you believe Nancy has the right to die?
Legally, no, but morally, yes.
I'm not hurting anybody. I just want my peace and my quiet. And I want to stop this in this body that I don't recognize anymore.
Without Dr. Kramer's help, Nancy has to find another doctor who will. With her cousin Jane, they begin to navigate through a bureaucratic provincial health care system and a medical community uncertain about their duty to their patients.
I know for a lot of doctors right now, there has been this fear of litigation. It's also new. It's so new.
Good to see you.
Yeah. You too.
Several phone calls to the Provincial Ministry of Health finally gets Nancy the results she was looking for.
Good morning, good morning. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm tired.
You look it.
I wish it was last month and not next month. I really do.
This Toronto doctor helps people die, but his family is deeply religious and doesn't know what he does. For this reason, we're not identifying him.
Okay.
I met Nancy through the Provincial Care Coordination Service.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I first met her, I saw someone who was frail, who could hardly walk to their own washroom, who was confined basically to the spaces of her own apartment.
Nancy's story highlights the dilemma. Why does one doctor say yes and another say no?
It puts a degree of pressure on the doctor himself to sort of have to predict when a patient's going to die. I would need some assurance that I would be not arrested and sent to jail.
How are you feeling about going ahead with this? I think Nancy's family doctor had the best of intentions when he tried to actually find out if this was someone who qualified. You know, of course, you can change your mind at any time. Doesn't affect any of the medical care that you get. But of course, it's up to you.
I'm just happy that you're going to be there.
The way to fly is Peter Pan. Yeah, enthusiast.
I love Ben Malone, who was born Norman, and I tried to figure out a way to save him. We honestly did.
It's Nancy's final day.
I love that. It's wonderful. So nice.
The doctor has arrived.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. Good. And I see you've got the music on and everything.
So they give a little Pavarotti.
Lovely, lovely. We'll get you to sign one last consent form, and then I'll tell you.
Off to the stars.
And we'll take things from there.
Okay.
Just crazy to see that her mind is 100%. But she's in so much pain, she needs to go.
All right, everyone. We all gathered around.
Okay, let's get on.
All right, get the show on the road. We're going to get you off to sleep, okay?
Good sleep, my love.
Are you starting to feel a little sleepy there, Nancy? Okay, Nancy, I'm going to start giving you the propofol. This is going to put you into a really, really deep coma, okay? Off we go.
Sleep sweetly.
It's okay, you can let go. Okay. Nancy, I'm going to move on to the next medicine now. I'm going to just have a listen to Nancy's heart and lungs. She's gone.
Bless your heart, my love.
Well, a lot to think about, and very moving. Dr. Danielle Martin joins us now. As you watched that, you were impressed by that doctor.
I was. I mean, what a moving story, and what an exceptional person Nancy was, and what a dignified death. Quite amazing.
In your practice, when you've had a patient come to you and ask questions about the options he or she might have, how does that conversation go?
I mean, often people do just want to have a conversation about their options. They want to understand what palliative care looks like. They want to understand at what point might they be eligible for a medically assisted death. And I think as Canadians are learning and physicians are learning what it's like in this new world, you know, we're 18 months in, the ground shifting beneath our feet. We're all trying to develop a new language for having these conversations.
You know this, as a doctor, patients will go just about anywhere for information, to friends, to Google. Health Canada has a website that can help them through this.
Health Canada's got an excellent website that has links to all of the different provincial and territorial programs. Some provinces have a very centralized, coordinated approach to medically assisted death, and others are more decentralized. And then, of course, for most people, their family doctor is also a good place to start. And even for those physicians who are conscientious objectors, they will help to direct their patient to the right information so that they can pursue that if that's what they wish to do.
We have just 30 seconds. Reasonably foreseeable. We saw it was difficult for the family doctor there.
Right, it's a tough one, right? Because it is a medical definition. It's not a legal definition. And so the determination of whether or not a death is reasonable reasonably foreseeable ultimately is up to a person's medical judgment. But if a person gets a first opinion that isn't what they were hoping for, they do always have the option to seek out other opinions, and ultimately 2 doctors have to agree that this person is eligible before a procedure can take place.
And as we saw there, 2 doctors can come to different conclusions on the same set of facts.
Right. Yeah.
Dr. Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, in a lot of ways, this scene speaks for itself. Breaking news for you out of Alabama. A huge upset in the race for Senate. Close to all the votes are in, and Democrat Doug Jones has won the day. He will become the next U.S. Senator from Alabama, and by the tightest of margins, right now sitting less than a percentage point. This is all to defeat the Republican candidate, Roy Moore, who not only has been fighting for his political life tonight, but who's also been fighting sexual assault accusations. Alabama is a deep red state, so this is a major turn, and it changes the dynamic in the U.S. Senate, where the Republican majority is already razor thin. So all kinds of big consequences will come out of tonight's result, but what you need to know for now, the Democratic candidate, Doug Jones, has won the night in tonight's Senate race in Alabama.
I take inspiration from the people who have lost their partners in life and single parents who have moved forward and continued their dreams.
For Jean Yip last night, it was a by-election win after a year of tremendous loss. She won 49% of the vote to become the new MP for the Ontario riding of Scarborough-Agincourt. That's the same seat held by her late husband, Arnold Chan. He died of cancer just 3 months ago. Jean Yip and I sat down before her election victory to talk about her late husband, her kids, and her politics.
What we're doing right now, when we listen to one another, despite our strong differences, that's when democracy really happens. That's the challenge that's going on around the world right now. No one's listening. Everyone's just talking at one another.
Those powerful words delivered by Arnold Chan in June was near the end of his battle with cancer.
And in so doing, you make this place a stronger place.
Just 3 months later, Chan died at the age of 50.
It is my sincere hope that the members in this House from both sides of the aisle join me in paying tribute to Arnold by way of listening.
Later, members of Parliament paid tribute to his wife, Jean Yip, and their 3 sons. Yip has taken her husband's words to heart more than anyone, choosing to fulfill his legacy. She ran in a by-election to replace him as the Liberal candidate in the riding he represented, and last night, she won.
I know he would be so proud of me today.
I wanted to know what life has been like for her and her family over the last few months, and what calls someone into public service after so much loss. Can you take me back to sort of the thought process behind you deciding you wanted to be a Liberal candidate in the same riding as your husband's?
Well, it happened in the summertime. Arnold was, we were just having a quiet conversation, just talking and thinking about the future. And I brought it up. It wasn't Arnold, and I brought it up. And then he thought about some of the things he still wanted to do in the riding. And ultimately, he thought it was a great idea. And then we talked to the kids. It's very important that the kids were on board. If they weren't, I wasn't going to do it. So with everybody on board, I thought, well, why not?
So you say you brought it up to him. It just came to you? And what motivated it, do you think?
I think it was because the community gave Arnold such support when he was in office and during the cancer journey that I thought it was my turn to give back.
Simple as that?
Yeah.
And when you said it to him, what was his reaction?
He was surprised, and then he thought about the kids. It's always been about the kids for Arnold.
It was a long battle.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me how he was when it came about the second time and when it started to get really bad.
He was disappointed because he felt there was so much more he could do, professionally and personally. And as it progressed, he never complained. He was always so strong. Even when there was a combination of treatments, he still insisted on going to Ottawa. I don't believe he missed any votes that was very important to him.
Mr. Bayless. Mr. Chan. Mr. Chan. Mr. Biddle. Mr. Biddle. Mr. Washington.
And the caucus members were so supportive. When they felt he had enough, I would get a text or a phone call saying he's not doing so good. And then I would find a way to get him back to rest.
Did you ever think that he was pushing himself too hard?
Yes, I did. But he felt it was very important to continue to represent the people that voted for him.
You had been married 19 years?
Yes, and it feels too short.
And was he, from the get-go, was he like that? Did he always want to give back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and politics was very much in his blood, and he told me right away.
So you said he was disappointed when the cancer came back because he had lots left to do. But there came a point, if I'm not mistaken, where that just became impossible. And how did, I don't know how he came to that decision, or you came to that decision, that he shouldn't be going to work anymore.
I think after the final speech, he realized it may be his final speech, and then with the summer break.
I watched that speech just this morning again. I'd seen it obviously when it happened, but I watched it again to remind myself of what he said, because it struck a lot of people for lots of different reasons. And one of the things that struck me was what he said about you. I mean, he had particular things he wanted to say about everyone. But to you, he wanted to talk about devotion.
I simply could not have asked for a more devoted partner in life as I have walked through this journey. Jean, without you, nothing. Nothing. So,
what does that mean to you?
Well, I think it means commitment. I think it means love and just support.
Yeah. And he talked about his parents and how strong they were in supporting him too. I couldn't get over sort of the love that he had for his parents and his brother.
Well, his parents have done a lot for him, including being involved in his campaigns. And I think that's asking a lot for a parent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In those last few weeks, what was that like? What were you doing as a family in those last few weeks?
Well, we were seeing a lot of his friends come to the house, and we wanted to have everyone to say a final goodbye. Then we wanted to move forward and spend time as a family. And sadly, we didn't get that time. The boys had a day and a half just with him. We took them out of school.
And what was that day and a half that they had with their dad like?
They spent the whole time playing board games, because that's what they really enjoyed. And he was still able to do that.
And did he spend some time talking to them? Did he pass on anything to them at that point, or had he said everything he needed to say?
He had said everything he needed to say. He was trying to spend more time with them through the month. But we just didn't anticipate it. We thought there would be a couple more months and that we would have more family time together.
Mm-hmm. The Prime Minister came as well?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. What was that like?
Late August.
Yeah.
He was so pleased to see the Prime Minister. And I think you've seen that photo that's on the Prime Minister's Facebook. I think it really tells a story of Arnold with the hospital bed in the middle, and him asking the Prime Minister to join him in singing Your Song by Elton John.
And they sang that together?
They sang it together, yes.
They were friends?
Yeah.
The reason I wanted to talk to you was because it's hard, I think, for some people to understand losing your husband and then suddenly saying, I'm going to pick up that mantle. So explain to me and to people why you feel you have to do that.
I'm no different than anyone else who's lost a spouse. You know, there are plenty of single parents who have no choice. They have to pick up, they have to look forward. And by staying in politics, I still feel connected to him.
I heard at the funeral that he had recorded a video. That everyone was it was a very emotional funeral.
Yes, yes. It was his way of saying goodbye to everyone, because his life was so public and he just wanted people to know. If you invite them to a funeral, then I think you should be able to say something, right?
And what did he say in the video?
Well, he thanked everyone for their support, and he talked about the family, and he talked about how important friendships are that you make and to hang on to it. Mm. And it was just a kind of like a goodbye love letter to not just the public, but to his parents, his friends, his colleagues.
To you.
To me.
Jean Yip will be sworn in as the new Member of Parliament for Scarborough Agincourt in the new year after MPs return from their Christmas break.
And we will be back in a moment. Remember, you can always go deeper on the stories of the day earlier in the day. Subscribe to our newsletter at cbcnews.ca/The National. The National Today takes you inside our journalism every afternoon.
This is my story.
Thank you, Canada, for sharing your stories. Now you can read them all in the Canada 2017 Yearbook, available in stores and online now.
Well, on The National tonight, recapping our breaking news out of Alabama, Democrat Doug Jones has defeated Republican Roy Moore in a closely fought race for a Senate seat. He's speaking live right now to his crowd of supporters. Let's listen in.
We have shown not just around the state of Alabama, but we have shown the country the way that we can be unified. We have spent so many hours. I have got so many people that I can thank, but I will tell you just very quickly. There are 3 people that I want to acknowledge tonight, because if it wasn't for them, we would not be here. They're the folks that sat me down in early May and said, Doug, you can do this, and they showed me the way. And I want to make sure that everyone in this room, and we had an incredible staff. It started with a small group of folks, Jess and Wade and Trey and Garrett.
That is Democratic Senate candidate Doug Jones talking about the uphill battle that he's had to fight to get to the point where he is. But what a point it is, defeating Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore in a state that has not gone blue in 25 years. So a pretty remarkable moment tonight. That is where we will leave things. That is The National for this December 12th. Have a good night.